Hi, everybody. This is day 1551, and we are still waiting, still working for justice for Richard because it's been 1551 days. Um, there's questions about all the dating, as because there's been so much tampering, right? There's been so much tampering in Richard's case, so there's absolutely questions about the dating, but we'll call it 1551 today. Since he was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss, an internal code red. That means that the Army, we are accusing the Army of ordering the murder of our son. Um, so that's with 4 years, over 4 years of every day, day in and day out, um, of investigation, except for Good Fridays, in Richard's case. And of course, with the whistleblowers and also with Richard's whistleblower complaints. And so we want to talk about a lot of this speculation on the cartel, the Mexican cartel's involvement in Richard's case. And we want to set the record straight about what we believe. And of course, we're very transparent, even though we have a compromised criminal um, judicial system and a compromised law enforcement community. They're compromised and compromised Fort Bliss military installation and a compromised U.S. Army. So we know that. We know that there are the agencies have been compromised. We have discovered that Gustavo Sanchez, connected with the Mexican cartel, a Texas Ranger that was assigned to our son's case, our case, and our son's case in the investigation from a Texas Ranger into very serious allegations in El Paso, is connected to the cartel. And this came up because of the very suspicious killing of an FBI agent not too long ago, Agent um, Carbona. I hope I get that right. FBI agent there at Franklin High School by the El Paso ISD, whose um, chief is also compromised um, by the Mexican cartel, which connects to, of course, Richard's case, on and on and on. So you've got the El Paso Police Department compromised. You have the DA office being compromised because the DA, Bill Hicks, is not the DA. He is a usurper, and he is trespassing on the 34th Judicial District Attorney's office there, and has essentially botched the DA's office, right? The DA's office totally destroyed the trust of the prosecuting office there in El Paso. And of course, we know that the chief medical examiner, Mario Raskin Ortiz, is also compromised with the Mexican cartel and breached his visas, illegal in the country. Everything surrounding him is illegal, and in making um, you know over $430,000 a year from the taxpayers. Um, we know that he is connected to Bliss Avenue, to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, to Danae Katzen, which is connected to Jonathan Ambrose, which is connected to others that work at KTSM. That KTSM set us up when we were there, um, and of course you Bob Moore, compromised with Leilani Hart and others, and Bob Moore used and he's disgraced, by the way, he's a disgraced journalist, absolutely should be forbidden to go anywhere near journalism because he used a convicted criminal, a confirmed convicted criminal and suspect in the murder of a Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier, Richard Halliday, in order to distract and obstruct justice in the very case she is a suspect of, the investigation of the Fort Bliss whistleblower murdered, confirmed murdered, okay, officially confirmed murdered on Fort Bliss, Richard Halliday. Can you imagine? I don't know how many cases they actually use the prime suspect to feature in articles using false information, false stories, and they are a convicted criminal, and they use that information to obstruct justice in a U.S. Army soldier murder case from Fort Bliss that her son, Dallas Hart, was Richard's platoon leader. How many cases are like that? And so you can tell that there is some serious concerns, conflicts of interest there, because Bob Moore schemed with Bill Hicks and with Justin Underwood, some others also. And we'll mention we will mention Joe Spencer today. We will mention the defense attorney, the lead defense attorney for the multi-million-dollar cash grab. I call it a cash grab. Am I being too harsh? I don't think so, because what has the El Pasoans received from this scheming Joe Spencer with Bill Hicks and Bob Moore and Justin Underwood to remove and replace a duly elected district attorney, okay, Yvonne Rosales. And the backroom deals, we have submitted files on the backroom deals that Joe Spencer made. He obstructed democracy. He just was deciding that he would have to choose who would be in the roles there in El Paso, who in the government roles there in El Paso, the election. He bullied an individual that was interested in running. So, that was in the newspaper. We looked all into that. Joe Spencer is so up to no good. And then who, I mean, there's so, what he has done with the Walmart mass shooting case is absolutely crazy. Why? And why would you scheme to remove and replace the DA? Why would you allow your client to go over 5 years in isolation? Now, it doesn't matter what you think of Patrick Crusius. We do have the rule of law. We do have innocent till proven guilty. We have that presumption of innocence. We absolutely understand that he has been plea deal to be guilty in the federal case, but that was all organized by Joe Spencer, who has absolutely failed his client since his client was brought before the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, who is occupied right now, illegally occupied right now by individuals that are posing as judges, and they're not judges. They might say, oh, we've been appointed, but they're not allowed to be appointed. They have to be elected. They have to be elected by the people. And, so, why would he not, um, address this huge discrepancy, this huge civil rights violation when his client was, you know, surrendered himself to a Hispanic law enforcement officer, and the law enforcement officer, whoever, did not read him his Miranda rights. He did not read him his Miranda rights, okay? And he did not bag his hand for evidence. You have right now a mass shooting in El Paso that was botched because those in law enforcement were inadequately trained, or they were compromised and could not follow the simplest law enforcement training as far as reading Patrick Crusius, his Miranda rights. You think in a mass shooting you would want to cross your T's and dot your I's to make sure that the trial would go smooth. But that's not what happened. They did not bag his hands for evidence, and Patrick Crusius was totally clean. So I'd really like to know what was on his hands, because he was totally clean. His shirt was clean, his pants were clean, his shoes were clean, and according to Ernest Christopher Grant, who supposedly, and I question the medical analysis, I don't know. I mean, in 2020, 2021, we have the right to question the medical analysis, and of course today also, of what's going on with Ernest Christopher Grant and his being the media sweetheart that says he was shot twice in the abdomen by an AK-47 and, lived to tell the tale, and tells a tale, because Patrick Crusius was clean. If and El Paso PD also had no other option but to say that Ernest Christopher Grant was lying. And so the whole case has been botched, and yet where is Joe Spencer and being a good defense attorney for his client? The case should have ended a long time ago. And, especially when Patrick Crusius agreed to pleading guilty and to serving 1,000 years in a federal prison called the Alcatraz of the Rockies. When that happened, I think, they absolutely should have ended the whole case. But they didn't do that because the money was so nice, $1 million a year, or, whatever he was making. That's what we heard, the $3 million the first year, $100 million. But who is he? What is going on with Joe Spencer, and who is he connected to, and what are his conflicts of interest? Because he is a rotten defense attorney. Okay, a absolutely rotten defense attorney, because he got Patrick Crusius to agree to pleading guilty and serving 1,000 years at this federal Alcatraz of the Rockies prison with major security. There's so many breaches in security. It would be interesting to see their security, and it's supposed to be very, very high security. Um, and I'm sorry that I'm questioning everything, but after 4 years of this hell that we have lived through, I question everything. Um, and why would Patrick Crucius? Why could Joe Spencer make a plea deal and have Patrick Crucius agree to it? Well, we know that Patrick Crucius has a severe mental health condition, and it's extensive. And and he just came out. Joe Spencer just came out over 5 years later, and has said what we have been saying for years, for absolutely years, that Patrick Crucius has autism. Because look, you can just watch him. You can just watch him, and if you're a trained teacher, like I am a trained teacher in Texas. That's where I went to school. Um, you can absolutely see that he would need to be tested, for autism and where he was on the spectrum. That's just clear, very, very clear. And I said that at the very, very beginning of finding out that Richard's case was connected to the Walmart mass shooting case and Patrick Crucius's case. So his apparently, according to Joe Spencer, according to the news, his neighbors said, "Oh yeah, he was banging his head on the sidewalk when he was 3 years old." Everyone knew that he had autism, and yet, this really rotten, absolutely rotten defense lawyer, Joe Spencer, never in these 5 years put in a motion to have a mental health evaluation done on his client. Now, and what about all the civil rights that have been breached? And that explains why Joe Spencer was able to get a plea deal for 1,000 years in prison. Hey, Patrick, don't you want to go to the Alcatraz of the Rockies forever and ever? Right? Yeah, I am just sickened by the manipulation going on at Fort Bliss and in El Paso, in the criminal judicial system, and also with the law enforcement compromised agencies, and they are absolutely compromised. DPS is compromised, and they're compromised with the Mexican cartel. Okay, so that is who they're compromised with, and they got very bold and decided, who knows, maybe over a decade ago. I don't think it was too much before then, but sometime in the last 10 to 20 years, they decided to start infiltrating on Fort Bliss. And the money is big. The money is very, very big. And I misquoted, and I have to correct myself, and I want to thank Team In Richard Halliday for correcting me, that I said it's $60 billion industry, and they said no, this is $90 billion industry without taxes. So that would be like $120 billion. But it's a $90 billion that they get to keep industry, and that's only for the drugs, the drug trafficking. So for human trafficking, for the child trafficking, all that stuff. And then what about adding on all of the taxpayers' money that is used in the trafficking? So I'm going to traffic, I'm going to make $90 billion, but that's not good enough. I want to use the military that is funded without any problem, because we love our country and we want our military to have everything possible to defend the Constitution. And, so they have a huge budget, $1 trillion budget. And, we'll just use their budget, their equipment, their fuel, their personnel, their time, and we'll infiltrate in the military. And it's just greed, pure greed. The emergency intake center housed all these children, and they were trafficked, and they're mostly dead now. And these children's cries are screaming out, in spirit, and they will absolutely Fort Bliss and El Paso if everybody looks away. The sand, water, water has memory. It is a proven fact that water has memory. We don't even know all of the capabilities of water. And so I can't even imagine the sands of El Paso, the sands of Fort Bliss, blowing through the winds of El Paso, through the sunshine of El Paso, the star on the mountain coming, the haunting of this trafficking, the deaths from the drugs, the children being used and abused so badly in so many ways that now they're mostly dead, and also being bold to traffic the weapons and the ammunition, using the storage units, the tactical move storage units, the trucks, the Humvees, the fuel, and we have information on that too about the fuel, because that's why Delta Battery 143 was important. 143 ADA is very important in that respect. And so I just think it's important to let everyone know, with all of this chaos, we have pieced together I shouldn't say all, a lot of the information, the puzzle pieces, the breadcrumbs, Operation Hansel and Gretel, whatever you want to call it, because we're talking about the life of our son, the brutal murder of our son, the cover-up, the brutal, very brutal cover-up of our son, the dismemberment of our son, the crying, the shaking, the very fearful soldiers, service members on Fort Bliss during that time. And, because justice wasn't there. The U.S. Army, the leadership there, Sean Bernabe, is very implicated. I would say he's guilty. He's absolutely guilty of failed leadership. There's so many reasons why I know for sure he is a failed leader. And the breaches of security on Fort Bliss, under Director of Emergency Services, Thomas Kane, the new one, Patrick, what's his, anyway, these people are absolutely implicated in the capital murder of our son Richard, and it's a double crime because it is compromising the security of a military installation with a foreign organization, through allowing, because, and I want to get this right, but it's through a rogue group from the original response team So it is from a rogue criminal group, I should say a rogue breakaway group from the original response team in our son's case that is connected to the Walmart mass shooting. Let me make sure I'm on, see that everything's going. I forgot to do that. And I think that that is really important to understand that the cartel connection was possible because of the compromise of a rogue criminal breakaway group from the original uh, response team. And this rogue group, um, you know, the U.S. Army is so inadequately training. You know, we give them all this money. I'm thinking maybe I want the money back because look at the breach of security on so many levels. On so many levels. And this is our military. And they're allowing a foreign criminal organization doing billions of dollars of illegal business trafficking to compromise our a rogue criminal group, breakaway group on Fort Bliss to compromise um, even some of the highest leaders and be involved in sex cult activities. Uh, yeah, this is a huge, and I have to mention the sex cult activities because how was Tavita Nusa? Who is Tavita Nusa? I just posted that up. Who is Tavita Nusa? I'll try to do it by memory. He is the Fort Bliss CID agent um, that has family relations to Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart, and Dallas Hart's mother, Leilani Hart. And not only does he have family relations with Leilani Hart, Leilani Hart was in an intimate relationship with him. Um, was it to scurry favors? She seems to work that way because there's multiple intimate relationships with multiple people and intimate relationships, like with Thomas Kane, the director of emergency services. And I know that's kind of a lot of information, but there has to be an understanding of this convicted criminal and how she operates in order to receive uh, information, access information from CID files in order to tamper with them, in order to scheme and collude to tamper with even pictures that are sent to Interpol of Richard Halliday, right? Um, this is really serious uh, tampering, very serious breach in security into the Criminal Investigative Division of Fort Bliss, where security should even be tighter than the military base itself. And yet, sorry, and yet there is breaches in security. So, and it absolutely is very important to know that the relationship with Thomas Kane, the director of emergency services, who controls all of the gates, all of the security at the gates of the military installation, was then breached also. And so when you want to know how did they forcibly remove Richard from his barracks room, murder him, and dismember him, and then remove him from Fort Bliss to put him in places where no one could find him or process him, at certain places to even capitalize on his death. Um, this is all apparently what happened. And, so the crime um, is very big, but the order for Richard's murder, we believe, came from his command from the U.S. Army, and it was pretty. Um, but because this group was compromised by the Mexican cartel, so what I'm saying is that the Mexican cartel, we do not believe at this time that they ordered the murder of Richard. But because this criminal group, breakaway rogue group, what had been compromised by the Mexican cartel, that the Mexican cartel participated in the cover-up. That's what we're saying. Because they had infiltrated in the agencies, they participated in the cover-up. And, a little bit more than that, because we believe with Tavita Nusa that he was tampering already with Richard's whistleblowing complaints. So not only did he get terminated, lost his badge, discharged from the Army, separated from the Army, however you want to say that, he got in big trouble and he was sacked, right? That's how you want to say it. He was sacked, and he lost his badge. And that was after a whistleblower complaint came forward. And now we have evidence that seems to link him to tampering with Richard's whistleblowing complaints at the CID. And so the breach goes on, and then he failed to disclose that he was a family member of the Harts, right? And that the whistleblowing complaints included the Harts and their activities that are then compromised by the Mexican cartel. So when you're looking at other things, as other information comes out, because I know I'm giving you a lot of information today, as other information comes out about the connections between El Mayo Zapata arrest and, of course, Garcia Luna's arrest and conviction, right? These are Garcia Luna was arrested and tried and convicted. His sentence is 38 years. I think it should have been harsher than that. That's my opinion at this point. But we believe that those arrests, those convictions, that has something to do with Richard's whistleblowing complaints that he was making. We believe that those whistleblowing complaints started in 2019 and continued. So that's where, I don't think, because there was a lot of other information and evidence and everything, but I think that was absolutely connected, along with the Walmart mass shooting, as a distraction from all of the audits, from all of the investigations going around that, because the system has been compromised. And you see with the criminal law magistrate court in El Paso, being trespassed being usurped, being taken over by individuals that have no authority, and denying El Pasoans the right to vote for judges that have so much power, countywide jurisdiction, um, and control of investigations, um, criminal investigations in El Paso. So that is, where we stand. Just a bit, just a little bit about it. There's so much more about Tavita Nuso. I hope that you read the article that we put up. I hope that you share that article. I hope that you share the music videos where we're getting a lot of very, very good feedback um, about the music videos, that they help in understanding this case, this long drawn out case, just like the Walmart mass shooting is long and drawn out, um, because the military has been absolutely, they're implicit, they're complicit with what's going on. They nothing more than this to all go away, but the cries of the children, the cries of the children, and the cries of the taxpayers paying for all of this, the injustices that they suffer day in and day out. Of course, the lives that are lost because of the injustices, because of the breach in the criminal judicial system, because of the breach in the law enforcement community, the compromised law enforcement community, the cries coming out of injustice, the fear, um, the cries from family members that lose their loved ones to drug overdose, or a little fentanyl because you have a hurt knee or something like this, tampered with medication. The cries that are coming out is very clear. And I believe, the water has memory. I believe the sand has memory. Um, and look into that, because of frequencies. There's a spirit that is greater than we are, right? There's a spirit that is greater than we are, and that's why when we find out that we're being haunted and have to suffer the consequences for not addressing uh, this egregious crimes, these egregious breaches in security, these egregious um, taking advantage of our love for our country, and stealing from us, right? Stealing from us. It's and the loss of our loved ones, and the brutal loss of our loved ones. Um, yeah, I think that is a haunting that brings down the hand of fate. That God absolutely is victorious. Christ is King. Christ is victorious. Of course, the God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. Absolutely have been made aware. A lot of people sharing that uh, Harris, Harris, Kamala Harris seems to have committed a major crime by a hate crime. Matter of fact, a hate crime for against Christians. Um, yeah, so that tells you a lot there. If that is the case, and it seems like the case, she should absolutely have to suffer the consequences of this hate crime that she committed against Christians. So it's there's no room, no room. Uh, these breaches and this taking advantage of our system. When we pay our military $1 trillion and more to secure and protect our Constitution, our beautiful Constitution. And it's because of that Constitution and the Texas Constitution that gives us power to get the FOIAs, to absolutely demand accountability for what has been done to our son and to our military, to our beautiful borderland city of El Paso. And I even, because I was born at White Sands Missile Range, because I went to school in El Paso, because I have a love for El Paso, the star on that mountain, the Franklin Mountains, and the Sun City, um, and what they have done to um, these breaches, these breakaway rogue groups that are absolutely thieves. They have larceny in the heart, um, and we have more about that because we can prove that they have larceny in the heart. How they have absolutely harmed our Siamese sisters, right? We cannot forget Juarez, Mexico, that we cannot forget Chihuahua and what has been done there, and that Richard's file was also tampered there, that there are vicious murders going on. It's absolutely out of control there. Um, so it's all unnecessary, because we all give so much to have a beautiful country, and yet there is um, those that compromise with the criminal organizations for money, right? For money and power. And to go back to circle back to Joe Spencer, and why he also is connected to Leilani Hart, and we'll be going into that the next couple days. The criminality and that connection, that him also being compromised by the Mexican cartel because of his relationship with Leilani Hart, and in trying to control who is, in the infiltration of the criminal judicial system and the law enforcement agencies there. Because another thing that Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa did is tamper with, um, try to manipulate. I think that's the right word. That's the word we decided on. To manipulate the law enforcement agencies in El Paso. So, sorry, really long day, and we are, really burning the midnight oil, um, reviewing all of the evidence coming in, because we have a lot of support right now, a lot of institutional support. Please be encouraged by that. El Paso, we are working very hard for you, as well as for our son and for our family. We're working very hard for um, the children, that have been so abused and wronged by all of this. And I'm not just saying that. You know how all the politicians, I'm not a politician, but they all say, "Oh, we want to do this for the children." Well, they need to do this for the children, but we know that we are, um, uh, for our child, Richard Halliday, so great. He's so great, um, and it's just so absolutely devastating to know that we don't have him anymore. Um, his spirit, his spirit lives on. Yeah. Um, Thank you for sharing this. Keep passing it on. Please do not give up on us. We are working diligently. We received um, confirmation today for institutional support. That is huge. Know that our reports and exposing the usurpation of the DA's office, the illegal takeover of the criminal law magistrate court by individuals that don't have any authority, the uh, the taking away the rights, the denial of the rights to vote by El Pasoans for their judges, the illegal occupation of the chief medical examiner, um, all of the compromise with the Mexican cartel. But I want to end with this, that we need to look at the U.S. Army. We need to look at the failed leadership. We have 44 four-star generals and admirals that have absolutely been compromised and are serving foreign and domestic enemies, and not doing their job in protecting and defending the Constitution of the United States. And they are allowing breaches on our military installations, um, uh, under $1 trillion budget, the largest budget in the history of the world for a military. They are absolutely allowing these breaches, and they absolutely covered up um, the whistleblowing complaints that our son made, and the ordering, the internal code red ordering of his murder, and covering up uh, the investigation, and allowing and even participating in the tampering, lying to our face, tampering. Absolutely, Sean Bernabe needs to be arrested, and I believe that he needs to be tried for treason, um, amongst others. Like Michael Garrett, Donna Martin, Mealy. They absolutely do. They are afraid of it. They're talking about it because they want your compassion in their evil dealings. No, they need to be arrested. They need to be tried because of these breaches. And yeah, please pass this on uh, to let everyone know what has happened, that we are absolutely unprepared to go into any kind of combat with this type of leader, with these type of leaders who needs enemies, right? We have got to address the issue of our compromised leadership in these very high positions that would be compromised, allow the compromising of Fort Bliss with the Mexican cartel, and then cover it up. Um, they absolutely need to be held accountable for this. And until that we do that, our military is unfit, and cannot be allowed to engage in these military skirmishes, because they cannot be trusted. They are manipulators. They are compromised. They are serving not to defend our Constitution. They're lying to us. And they have the lives of our volunteer sons and daughters in their hands. And they cannot be trusted, especially with all these sex cults and all of that. They cannot, because of the mental health damage that they have done. I cannot even tell you how many families have told me about the mental health damage of our service members, because of these individuals that have betrayed us, that are wearing our uniforms, wearing our stars, beautiful uniforms, beautiful stars, and what that does on the psyche when you see those beautiful uniforms and stars, and all of a sudden they are demons. They are demons, and they are the enemies of the soldiers themselves. I cannot tell you how many people that have expressed that to me. The mental damage, that they can't trust the highest leaders in our military to defend the Constitution, and to um, analyze um, our national security properly, and to address it properly. I just can't even express that more. So please pray for our country. Pray for this case. Pray for El Paso. God bless you. thank you so much for sharing this information and sticking with us for so long.